Exercise, we're going to build another pivot table that compares the total amount and the total orders per salesperson, but at the same time also lets us filter the pivot table by product category. So let's get started. Let's click on anywhere in the data that belongs in the pivot table on the source data sheet. And then up here, we click Insert, Pivot Table. The pivot table automatically picks up the table from where the data will come from because of our previous active cell selection. And we just say OK, create the pivot table in a new worksheet. So now here we are in the pivot table layout. So we simply tick the fields that we want to appear on the pivot table report. So we tick on salesperson. We want the salesperson to appear on each row, and that's where it went automatically. So that's done. The second part is the order amount. So we take order amount. Okay, and order amount shows up here, and it's automatically added, so it's sum of order amount. So sum of order amount by salesperson, and so that's our first column. Now we need to also count the number of orders per salesperson. So what we need to do now is we need to add order amount another time, but since it's already been ticked, we can't tick it a second time because ticking it a second time will unselect it. So instead of ticking it, I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it down here to the values section so that there's another sum of order amount. And in fact, now we have sum of order amount too. But instead of adding it, okay, here I'm going to click on this, on the title for this column. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to change summarize values. Okay, by default it's sum. This time I just want to count how many orders there were for each salesperson. So I'm just going to say count. And now you'll see the number of orders for each salesperson. And we could actually go ahead and double click these titles and customize the name. So for the first column, I want to say total amount because that would sound nicer. And for the second column, I'm going to change it to number of orders. Okay, so now we've got the pivot table. Now, one more thing we want to do is we want to be able to select the data according to product category. So here's category. I'm going to click it and I'm going to drag it down here to the report filter. And once I drag it down here, you'll see that up here, you now get a drop-down list and you can select the category that you want to analyze. So let's say I want to know the performance of the salespeople for my garden center, but only for landscape services. So I'm just going to take landscape services and I click OK. And now you'll see that for landscape services, Baker, okay, Baker had the best performance. And once we're done analyzing his performance, we can go back to the pivot table because this opens up a new one. We'll go back to our pivot table here. And we can also go and analyze bestseller for flowers. And for flowers, I think Adams would be the bestseller. Okay, so you can analyze by category or you can look at all categories. So at this point, we're done with the pivot table. We just need to do some editing and some formatting. And I'm just going to change this all to comma style. And I'm also going to format my table quickly with this color scheme. Okay, and I'm going to add my report title up here. Well, this is actually a query form, so I'm not going to add a report title. I'm just going to type the instructions to the user. Choose a category, compare the total amount and units sold by each salesperson. Okay. And I'm going to double click it down here and change the sheet name to X4-5.